enjoy the fruits of what you're doing. But those that will come after you, you'd have laid the seed. What am I trying to say in a nutshell? Leadership is a process of many phases. We start small, tomorrow it will end big. I think one of the prophets, Jeremiah, says, never despise the days of small things. Anything that looks big today started how? Small. Because there was what? Leadership. And there was a seed planted. I want to assure you, Mona Lisa and team, through the foundation that you are putting up today, is that, believe you me, what you are planting today is certified pure seed that will germinate. And because you would have done your homework, there's nothing that starts easy. If anyone tells you there's smart business which you can make money every day, wait until you are scammed. There's no easy way to money. Those of you that have done economics, I'm sure you know that one of the properties of money is that it must be difficult to find. Anything short of that is a scam. Let me mention to say that leadership is the action of heading a group of people, or at least an organization. And I'm glad today we are being invited by an organization that is ready to lead. But we must give them support. And because we are a learned generation, this comes up with values. And the values of what we are doing, if we are better educated, are better opportunities, isn't it? Some will be financial security. I'm looking at the values of education, coined in leadership. Ambassador, my fellow, my senior ambassadors, have you ever wondered why in an organization, a company is not doing well, people just fire the general manager, same employers, and you start making profit? Why don't they fire the entire force? For example, I come from nitrogen chemicals, in Zambia, where we have a company that makes fertilizer. Many times it is only the general managers that are being fired. The company that was non-profit will be making profit. Leadership. The only thing that we need to do as leaders is to change our mindset. In the Bible pages, one wise man says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think you'll be poor, stay blessed with it. But if you think you'll be rich, it is all about your attitude. And that is what leadership goes about. And that is what makes a whole heap of difference when you're educated. You're able to make an informed decision. You're able to lead because you know what it takes. Support. Plan. Imagine a thief comes in your house and he's with a gun, and somehow you manage to grab the gun from the thief. Would you start asking to say, oh, how did you find your way into here? And you don't know what you're doing. So those of us that have come from certain backgrounds, you need to use now what we call self-defense, isn't it? The gun is in your hands and you want to start asking questions. Okay, so please, we need to have better judgment. I just want to mention that some of the principles of education are empathy. We know what empathy is? Okay, that's your homework. Equal opportunities. You have respect for environment. I'm sure a lot of us, I was asking myself, that with this cold weather that I think a lot of us from where we're coming from, it's either it's very hot, or at least moderately hot. Now, can you imagine if this weather was in Africa? How many trees were going to remain? So, you people have come here to learn. You've got now, you can make an informed decision, and you understand how to take care. You respect the environment. You'll be at pains to see someone cutting a tree. Why? You have been educated, and now you have to lead. And so I'm saying, fellow students, let's give support to such organizations that mean well to our well-being. Did you hear me? Yes, let's give support. When I was invited for this event, I must confess that time was not on my side. I got the invitation slightly late. I had to pick my daughter early morning to get the airport. I was talking to my association president that I'm sorry I may not make it, even the organizers. But because of the nature of the meeting and what we are supposed to be discussing, I was of the view that this whole, hall will be full to capacity. Because this is something which we students must benefit from. But don't worry. One of my friends, I have 2 minutes to sit. One of my good writers, John Maxwell, which I want to impart with you as I sit down. Time is not my best, I'll invite me next time, probably. I want to say that John Maxwell is one of the Pentecostal pastors, and I think the last time I checked on him, he had written many books to do with leadership. And he says, leadership is about developing leaders around you. So if you are a leader with no followers, alas, you're a disaster to yourself and to the nation that you represent. We must have leaders. And John Maxwell encourages us, and I want to encourage you, my dear sister, that we need to apply the 20-80 formula. The 20-80 formula is you plan 10 things in a year, do the 2 most important of those, it would have given you 80% of your targets. And I want to encourage you. Check your facts. Call for a meeting, whether it's a church board at your church. Ask me how many people will come, 20% of the total membership. In any business meeting, call for people to come for a meeting. Even at our church, even from our rural settings, only 20% will contribute to the welfare of whatever you are doing, but you will have achieved 100% goals. Don't be discouraged. We need to move on. And I would say, successful people in life are people with hope, even when circumstances show no hope. I thank you.
Next, we have a representative from sector. They're going to speak to us about innovation. The company develops different types of technologies, and we thought it would be worthwhile for them to share in the area of innovation. Just a brief.
A little bit, because я могу только на русском сейчас, извините, да. Нет. А давайте вместе.
Да.
Сработает, да. Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья. Меня зовут Елена Третьякова. Я торговый директор швейцарской компании «Sector International».
I am the managing director of Sector. My name is Elena.
И для меня вообще это огромная честь выступать сегодня на вашем мероприятии и познакомить вас с нашими инновационными приборами нашей компании, а также поделиться нашим бизнесом и в дальнейшем пригласить вас к нам на обучение в наш главный офис.
So it's a very big honor for me to be here in your innovation meeting, and I'm here to just share with you some of the devices we make in our office, and it would be my pleasure to invite you to the office in the future.
Вот на экране это главный офис ЦЕТы России, который находится в Москве на проспекте маршала Жукова. Это личный офис нашего президента, господина Филиппа Цетта.
So this is the office that is located in Moscow. It's our main office, and it's also the office of our president.
Компания занимается, да, дальше можно слайд. У нас компания занимается продукцией, производит продукцию для здоровья и красоты на личных 9 заводах в Европе. Мы работаем в 60 странах мира, и поэтому у вас тоже есть возможность стать бизнесменом нашей компании в своем регионе, в своей стране. Вот продукция, которая предоставлена, более 800 наименований, и вы можете потом в нашем офисе с этой продукцией познакомиться.
So our company produces devices for the good of our health and beauty, and we are located in various countries, and we have different factories in different countries. And as you can see on the screen, you can also get to know about the devices and also get to work with us in the future.
Да, в интернете можете вы потом посмотреть компанию sector.ru и посмотреть видео с нашим президентом об его успехах на мировом рынке.
So you can also go to the internet at sector.ru, and you can see the presentation by our president about his successes in the international market. Next slide.
Да, теперь видео, короткое видео о нашей продукции, с чего начиналась наша компания. Начиналась с инновационной, уникальной посуды, которая готовит без масла, без соли, жира. Это здоровое питание, и эта посуда долговечная и прослужит вам много-много лет.
So now we're going to watch a video about the first product we produce in our company, which is a plate that produces food without oil, and it stays for a very long time. It was really good for our health.
Здоровое вкусное питание – это возможно. Цептер-мастер Peacebook Art – эксперт по правильному приготовлению здоровой пищи. Приготовление при низких температурах, без токсинов и жира, экономит время и деньги, понижает калорийность блюд. Продукты не пристают к дну посуды и не пригорают. Сохраняет витамины и питательные вещества, аромат, цвет и вкус. Совершенная технология и дизайн. Цептер-мастер Peacebook Art – искусство здорового приготовления пищи.
Сразу же говорю первый подарок о том, что мы вас приглашаем на наши кулинарные мастер-классы. Она у нас проходит очень интересно, профессионально, без оплаты, где вы сами научитесь готовить в такой посуде здоровые разные блюда, и это все попробуйте. Это первый подарок для всех. Запоминайте,
Okay, so this is the first, I'm going to tell us about the first prize that I'll be giving for everyone. So it's a degustation, and it's going to be a masterclass of how to use the pots we just saw in the presentation, and it's totally free of charge for everyone.
И кто посетит наш мастер-класс, обязательно будет презент из сали для вас, для каждого.
So, prize for you.
Хорошо, следующий ролик. Итак, теперь хочу вам сказать об новом инновационном продукте, это который появился у нас год назад в компании, и вообще сейчас он очень актуальный. Это уникальные фуллереновые очки. Вот обратите внимание, я в них сижу, и когда пришла, снова одела, потому что вот эти уникальные очки с фуллереном C60, они, да, я вам коротко, да. Что вы видите, уникальные фуллереновые очки с нанотехнологией, то есть они защищают ваши глаза от опасного синего света.
So it's a very unique kind of glasses that protects our eyes from blue light. Strong rays.
Мы часто сидим, да, смартфоны, телефоны, компьютеры и глаза, на это влияет на глаза и, понятно, зрение садится. И это очень плохо для головного мозга, болит голова и в дальнейшем бывают серьезные проблемы.
So we always sit with our smartphones and our devices, and these rays that are always around us are very toxic for our eyes. So that's what we
И
need.
у нас в компании есть много моделей очков и линзы, которые вы можете приобрести и поставить в ваши очки, но зато ваши глаза будут здоровы.
So in our company we have different frames and different lenses that you can use, and in the future, in retrospect, it will be very good for your vision.
И ролик можно дальше?
Can you
Разные
video?
модели. Это
Видео?
Tesla очки.
Can I be your star tonight? You fill my soul with light the day we met. I don't wanna leave your side, no. Have me by your side when the sun sets. I hope you still want me. I hope you still need me a million years from now. The season.
И в нашем офисе вы можете померить все модели очков, и какие вам понравятся, можете приобрести с нашими сейчас уникальными новогодними акциями.
So in our office you can try on any of the models and buy them with our New Year discounts at the moment.
Переведите, что надо этот ролик пропустить, он большой, чтобы дальше.
So we're not going to play this video, so let's go to the next video.
Сейчас я хочу показать супер инновационный прибор, называется Биоптron. Вот описание, если на чате Биоптron. Что это за прибор? Это Швейцария, это прибор, который лечит светом.
So it's called Biotron,
Да.
and it's a device that treats you using light.
Да, лечит светом, восполняет дефицит солнечного света.
So it cures the
Свет.
deficiency of sun rays.
И дает энергию. Вот сейчас нет солнца, да, нет солнца, поэтому мы слабые, болеем, ну и нет энергии. Так вот этот прибор Биоптron, именно завод Швейцария, была лично на этом заводе, смотрела, как его проверяют, собирают, поэтому это супер прибор, который дает много энергии.
So because of the deficiency of the sun right now, because we're in winter, so this device helps to fill up, to
Энергия.
it gives you energy basically.
Поэтому второй подарок, это мы вас туда приглашаем, вы получите 3 бесплатных сеанса, 3 сеанса светотерапии Биоптron.
So when you come to our office, we will give you 3 sessions with optical therapy
Да. 3
for
сеанса.
free.
Да. И последний момент, сейчас моя коллега выдала вам вот эту карточку, да? Please, запомните.
So my colleague gave you this paper, so please fill it.
Мы соберем.
We would take it.
У нас будет через неделю розыгрыш подарков на 1 300 000.
So
Евро.
we're going to take all the information, and then after 1 week, we will have like a raffle draw of 1 million.
Да, 1 300 000 евро.
1 million, one,
Да, потому
1.3 million euros.
это по всей России, все, кто сдадут карты,
So it's like an all-Russian raffle draw online for everyone that gives this paper.
потому что нашей компании в этом году 30 лет, как она работает в России,
because this year our company is holding its 30-year anniversary.
И 35 лет как работать в Европе. Это будет супер розыгрыш.
And 35 years in Europe. So it's going to be a very big
Поэтому
one.
все возможно.
So everything is possible.
Большое спасибо.
Okay, so one last presentation before we get into our panel discussion with our ambassadors and our delegates. So I'm going to invite Pastor Godwin. He's going to talk about having a good report, how it is important as a student. Let's welcome Pastor Godwin.
Good day, everyone. I just came in basically, so I'm not 100% sure of everyone that's here, but I know there are high dignitaries, so all protocols duly observed. I appreciate the presence of ambassadors and key technocrats and people, everyone who's here. Hello, dear students as well, and people who may not be students, but who came here. I hope you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Are you having a good time?
Yes.
Okay, so it's just I have a short, just a talk. I thought for a very long time, what do I speak about? And because I was not so sure about the direction of everything basically, so I had to make some confirmation. When I started hearing about Rosigrish Nikolai Sonse, I started thinking, is it like an advertisement or something? But I mean, that's okay, basically. I think they're also, I guess, well, but to be sincere, I'm here for because of one person. I was invited by Mona Lisa. Can we give her a hand? I'm just one of the three organizers here, and I just have, so she asked me just to share a word, and then later on asked me, so what would be the theme? And I told her a good testimony, but the word testimony sounded too spiritual. I know we're not in the church, so I decided to change it to a good report. Because if you're familiar with the Bible, the King James version, where I got that phrase from, the good testimony, actually says a good report. And what I just came here to give you one simple thought before you go to your next session. I'm a Christian, I'm a pastor, and the Word of God says, there are lots of foreigners here, so it's just one thought I want to share with you. The Word of the Lord says, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, and Daniel were taken from Jerusalem to Babylon, and they were foreigners. And the Bible says they had an excellent spirit. They did things in such a manner that the Babylonian kings, Darius, Nebuchadnezzar, and every person saw in them something unusual. And they were able to make a mark in the place where they were located. Because their spiritual lives, they did not lose touch with their spiritual side. They left Jerusalem and came to Babylon. Well, they didn't leave, they were taken hostage, if you're familiar with what the Bible talks about. And yet they could, because their spiritual lives were intact, they could make a great impact. And I know we've been having addresses here and talks and lectures, but I just came here with a word of encouragement for every person here. I've been in Russia for over 15 years now, and I've seen many things. I have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen foreigners come, settle down, and make impact. I've seen foreigners come and make a mess of their lives. I've seen more foreigners come, start well, and end bad. I've also seen foreigners come, start bad, and end well. I hope that will be your report or testimony. But one common thing about everything is the moment the spiritual life is put in place, everything seems to fall into place. And I'll round up with just this simple thought. I got to know Mona Lisa just early this year. There's a camp, it's called Students for Christ. I can see a couple of Students for Christ. Can you give yourself a hand? And it's a camp, a Christian camp where we share the word of God, encourage people and all that. And in just 1 year, standing in this hall, we used to rent this hall for our church, the Russian church, so it's not the first time I'm inside this hall. But standing here and seeing the number of people and what is happening, and all this came from just the day she just came to me and said, Pastor, I feel in my heart, I have this dream, I feel like I can speak to people, organize something, encourage them. And instead of speaking from the heart, everything you see here was giving birth to spiritually. And I just came to encourage her to say, listen, so you may not be an organizer, you may not be a speaker, you may not be a business person, you may not be able to connect with people here and there, but you may have your gift and you may have your talent. And whatever it is, I just came to give you a short word to say, there's something called a quick report. A quick report is what comes through faith. And I just came to testify about what God has been able to do in her life. And maybe you're here, you feel like you're in a foreign land, you're in a new place, you're just trying to find your feet. I want to encourage you that there's a different life that you will live. There's a more effective life that you will live. Every potential that is on the inside of you can be expressed the moment you put your priorities straight and your spiritual life is where it's supposed to be. And I came here to share with you a good report. And that good report is a year ago, I don't even know where she was, but today, just standing here and seeing what is being organized. Believe me, I'm into organization as well, and I know how difficult it is to put things together. In this cold weather, to get so many people together, it's a great report, it's a good testimony. So I just wanted to give her a hand once again, if you can, please. And I want to encourage you, every word you've heard, every thought you've got into today, just know that you too can, in your own way, fulfill your potentials and everything that is on the inside of you. Like I repeat, you may not be a speaker, you may not be an organizer, but whatever it is that is inside of you, please be aware. Okay? And then my last thought is just for our fathers, our ambassadors, and everyone that is here. Recently I was in the Zambian embassy too. I had an opportunity to share a short word for the new people who came in. And I made a point that I want to repeat. When I heard everything that was being said, I understood that, our goal is the same, basically. When people come in, we want them to do well. We want things to be in place. But as long as spiritually the foundation is not right, every other thing will not stand still. Because there are morals, there are principles, there are ethics that are imbibed in us culturally and spiritually. And if we do not start from the foundation, every other thing may be shaky. So I want to just express that thought and say, we're a church, and there are also many churches as well. Let's take the spiritual aspect of our lives very seriously, because without that foundation, unfortunately, there will always be catastrophes. Thank you very much, and do have a lovely
word of encouragement. Let's take hands for him again as he takes his leave.
Kenya, Nairobi.
Okay, we are out of time, but we're going to extend because this is the most important part of today. We're going to have our plenary session. I'm going to invite the student president of Sierra Leone. I'm also going to invite the student president of Zambia. So they will be leading us in the questions that we all have questions that need to be answered. And we have an opportunity to learn from the best. We have an opportunity to be able to share our thoughts with them as well. So let's just take this opportunity to start the panel discussion. Let's get them for our president, please. So some questions are going to be displayed on the screen. We're going to address those questions to the audience. Anyone who feels they want to answer, they can answer. But ultimately, we'll also hear from our delegates what they have to say about the issues that we are about to address. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. His Excellency, His Excellency from Uganda, Mr. Moses Kawaluko, the Minister of Council General from Kenya, His Excellency, also the First Secretary from Zambia, another Excellency, the First Secretary from Zimbabwe, from Tanzania also, and Estonia, Second Secretary, and of course from Zambia, and also our distinguished delegates from Nigeria. Distinguished guests, and welcome to this general session with myself, the President of Sierra Leone Student Union in Russia, and also is the President of Zambia Student Union.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I read on the protocol as he has outlined. But in this preliminary session, we're going to discuss two key documents, and I'll be taking the Agenda 2063. For those that do not know this document, this is a vision of the Africa we want. So it rides on an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa, driven by its own citizens and representing a dynamic force in the international arena. So this is also founded on the AU vision, so there'll be a couple of questions and you'll be free to answer, and also our guests, our distinguished guests will be able also to add a voice on that. So I'll start, and then later on you is also going to pick it up. So I'll read out a question, and then if you feel you can tackle it, please do feel free to get on it. There will be a microphone that will be going around. You can simply raise your hand, and the microphone will come to you. Okay, how can leadership in Africa be strengthened to effectively address the continent's growing challenges and achieve the goals set out in the Africa Agenda 2063? How can leadership in Africa be strengthened to effectively address the continent's growing challenges and achieve the goals set out in the Africa Agenda 2063?
Could you please project the first question?
Okay, I'm told the questions are too long, so you can also see what's on the projector. What are some of the obstacles in the way of implementing Agenda 2063 related to the youth of Africa?
Before we move forward, can we please raise our hands if we have seen the agenda of 2063? One, two, three. So, by the look of things, we only have a few people who are in favor of the agenda 2063. So, basically, the agenda 2063, it's an agenda that has been projected towards the improvement, sustainability in Africa, and I'm encouraging all students to kindly look at this document because it's very vital to our well-being, for our future, and to all other affairs that are related to youth. As you're all aware, in the coming decades, Africa will have the highest amount of youth. So we have to tap into this potential now and start forming partnership, relationship, and work towards the interest. So we can throw the question, maybe we have someone going to answer.
Greetings, His Excellencies, all present here today, and colleagues. I'm Awasalio from Sierra Leone, student at Tona State University. In my opinion, I think some of the obstacles in implementing the Agenda 2063 related to youth is lack of resources, because many of the present-day youths of Africa, at the end of education, they are not given the right resources to implement ideas. So at the end of the day, they run away from Africa, find places like Europe, America, and help in the development of the economy. I think if Africa youths are given these resources, these initiatives that we've gathered, like for example, students in the Russian Federation, to be able to return to the various countries like in Sierra Leone, Uganda, and all that, implement those, will be able to have vibrant youth to contribute to the development of Africa by 2063. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Bao. He's my peer from the Scottish Union. So basically, we need to equip ourselves to be well suited for the Agenda 2063. These are documents that our forefathers, our elders, the ambassadors, the His Excellencies, the ministers, African Union have put in place to be achieved in 40 years. So the first thing we have to do is to identify the problems. How can we identify the problems is to look at those documents, see how we can implement ourselves in achieving this. So the question again, we go to our distinguished delegates to see if they want to add to what our esteemed colleague have said. Yes.
Thank you very much. Before I proceed, let me also register my profound appreciation to all of the other colleagues who presented statements here today, and of course the lady from the business community. I think, Mona Lisa, you're doing well. When you target the business community, next time you will sponsor all your programs and your shows. That's what you should do. You're on the right track. Because it's a business community that has the money. They have money. Private organizations have money more than government. So it's them that you should target. You're on the right track. Agenda 2063. I remember you guys, you should know that there is also Agenda 2030. And there is Agenda 2063. And all of these agendas are linked into the SDGs, Social Development Goals. And of course, first you had, I don't know, one of the colleagues that was talking about the millennial goals that were revised. In 2000, there was this millennial goals, then we went to structural development goals, and then the world, UN 2030, and then Africa tried to be very specific, and 2063. And some of these things are very simple things that are around us. It's to do with health, it's to do with education, it's to do with transportation, it's to do with energy, etc. Of course, it's to do with jobs and all of these things. But as we speak, at the last UN General Assembly, they've actually kind of stepped on the brake. They are reversing the gear on this 2030. And I believe even AU is also stepping the gear on 2063. Because we have had so many things happening lately. We shouldn't forget that the COVID was a big slap in the face of everybody. Africa was doing so well before COVID strike. Most of the economies, fast-growing economies, were on the African continent. Most of them were on the African continent. But then COVID struck. And then what happened? This economy stalled. And one of the reasons for that, because most of African countries rely on exports or imports of produces from abroad. Most of these countries, their industrial base is very weak. Like, for example, Sierra Leone. We don't produce, we consume almost everything that we have in our country. So we have to rely on external people to produce, and then we buy from them. And then COVID, this whole shipping industry was disrupted. And then we have the ongoing conflict next door between Russia and then Ukraine. That also impacted on what comes into African countries. So for the youth, and we all agree that the youth population is probably the growing youth population is a blessing in disguise for Africa. But we need to actually ensure we provide job opportunities for our growing youth population so that they stop running away, going across the seas or the desert. But also there are stumbling blocks to that. There is a huge debt on Africa that Africa has to pay. We owe the World Bank, the IMF so much money. So people may want to blame the current situations in our African countries on the COVID or blame it on the Russian-Ukraine war. But these problems have been existing before even these things happened, from the Bretton Woods organizations. You know, when I'm talking about the Bretton Woods organizations, I'm talking about the IMF and the World Bank. So we pay more money to these organizations in terms of debt repayment than we actually have. So we are paying them money that we don't have at all. So imagine if you're spending money that you don't have, you are going to be more poor. And that is the reason why most African countries now are asking for debt rescheduling, so that we can actually stop paying some of this debt, and the debt that we are supposed to be paying, the money that we are supposed to be paying in debt, we can use that money inward and develop our industries, which then will lead to the production or of jobs, job places for our young people. Because it is jobs that our young people want. Most of our young people are educated. Most of them. But they are going out. Some people are paying like thousands just to go to abroad, where they don't even know what the future holds for them. So we want to keep this youth back. But we need to improve on the health services, we need to improve on the production services, and importantly, we need to improve on also our energy and transportation. Because if we don't improve on energy, energy is the springboard to development. And like for Sierra Leone, we have only about 30% that have access to energy. And in the sub-Saharan Africa, most of these countries have no access to energy. And if you don't have access to energy, nothing else happens. So you are absolutely right. For us to actually ensure that our youth don't jump on the high seas or go on the desert, we need to actually focus on developing some of these things in-house within our countries. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay.
Just a short comment. We are looking at obstacles the youth face. There is an old African adage that says that if you don't know where you are coming from, you can never know where you are going. You can never define where you are going. When we were growing up, we had the privilege to read African literature. I think I literally read every literature book published by an African writer. Benti Kiwachebe, FMYDE, Kabaralai. I've read all those books. And in those books, you will see the African story. And at that time, we were able to relate it to our lives as we were growing up. Like if somebody is having a challenge when they are coming from the river, collecting water, that's where we pick water from. Now, the children in the developed countries, even the universities here, if it's doing a project, I have a cousin who is at this university in his 4th year now, but his project for the 3rd year was paid for by an American company, and $500 million is paid to his university every year for that project. But now for you, we expect you to move so fast, jump a generation into a new way of thinking without knowing your history. Try to understand your history. It's very important. I just want to give one last illustration. For some of you who have read No Longer at Ease. Anybody who has read No Longer at Ease here? Kinua Chebe? Now, if you read No Longer at Ease, the story of Obi Okonkwo, who was the grandson of Okonkwo and the son of Lawyer, he lost direction, but basically because he ran away from the association in the Lagos of the Omofia people, who were telling him, don't relate that girl because she has some space behind her. She will be a misfortune. And he disregarded it. That's why I'm saying that it is important for you to understand where you're coming from if you have to break through. I thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think someone wanted to add something, just briefly, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is from Nigeria. Okay, we are talking about Agenda 2063, and I recently got to find out about Agenda 2063 when I was made to make a presentation for my school. And reading through the agenda and the 10-year implementation plans for the Agenda 2063 for Africa, it actually got me thinking, because reading through those implementation plans, I got to see the ones that we are worked upon, the ones that are being currently worked upon, and how many that unfortunately nothing has been done. I'm talking about the implementation plan from 2013 to 2023. So I kind of did some analysis, and because we were doing, okay, for example, I was doing the, what's it called now, the presentation on the educational system in Nigeria, comparing it to educational system from different countries, and I found out that a lot of all these countries, the global countries that we see currently, from China, Canada, their educational plan was slated for goals that were just for 5 years, and so I was comparing why maybe our distributed images you are going to give us like more clarity on that. Why did we make the agenda for a 50-year plan? Because I honestly think that making a plan for 50 years is too long a time, considering the change in governance, considering the change in technology, the change in the youth, and also looking at the youth sitting down here. A lot of us that are going to be these future leaders, let's say in 25 years time, we don't have any idea there is something called a 50-year plan for Africa. So we are going to continue in that area, how, without knowing that there's actually a plan for that, I don't think it's feasible. Like, I don't think it's feasible that these plans are going to be realized. That's the first thing. And then also the second thing is, I feel like based on lack of information, number two is the time. I mean, if you get a 50-year plan to do something, I honestly think like there's the high possibility that it's not going to work. So those are the two points I wanted to note.
I don't know whether I'll be very careful to answer you on the time, because your guess, I think, is as good as mine. But I want to probably agree with you that part of the challenges that we face in the implementation is the first question that was asked when we started. How many of us know the Agenda 2063? I think there were very few hands. And I've read somewhere where it says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge. So we need to read and we need to research. My ambassador from Uganda was talking about having an African story. Not until we realize and raise as Africans that we need to tell our own story in our own writing, in our own understanding, we will continue to dance to jump, and our question will be how high. And so we need to come to reality. For example, if you remember during the COVID era, 2020 coming down to 2022, there was a time when all the roads were leading to India to order medicine. And India said, I think now we will stop supplying because we only have enough for our people. Now tell me something, the first countries to be hit was Africa. But this is a country that has graduates from countries like Russia, who have done medicine, they can even produce, but they have become what I would call European laborers in other countries, without looking at the African stories. And we think the only people that can turn is someone else and not us. And not until we realize that if it is not me, there will be nobody, we will continue complaining. I equally feel, much as we have all these excuses about the Ukraine war, all this story about COVID, Africa needs to wake up and write its own story. I submit.
Concerning the issue of time, actually that is all strategic planning is about. It answers the questions: where am I? Where do I want to go? How do I get there? That's why national programs are characterized into 4 different categories. The long term, it can be 50 years. Then the short term, medium term, maybe 15 years. Short term, 5 years. Then annual plans. Your dream of what Africa should be in 50 years should drive you in a strategic plan. Each year, what can I do? Such that in the 50 years, I'm at that stage. So there's nothing wrong. You're saying that in 50 years, I must be there. The question is, will you plan realistically to get you there in the 50 years? That's how plans are done the world over.
We have more questions on this. Really? Okay, please, very short. I'm going to cut you if you keep on talking.
Hello, everyone. My name is June. I'm from Kenya. And before I get to my question, I just would like to maybe correct or maybe just argue upon something. Fortunately, I had a chance to do my degree based on strategic management, and I would like to just denounce it that a strategic plan cannot be 40 years. There's a short-term strategic plan, which is 3 to 5 years, and then there's a long-term strategic plan, which is maximum 10 years. We can't base a strategic plan on 30 plus years. It's quite unreasonable, even in the business sector. It's quite unreasonable. Secondly, I'd like to just to place this point and maybe ask an opinion, please, on it. As you're talking about obstacles, I understand how politics is something we don't like to talk about. We like talking about it because we will not stop acknowledging the importance of politics in, well, our world. It is important. However, I do see to it that we base ourselves and we focus so much on making people politicians or meeting politicians instead of people who value leadership over politics. Politics is important, yes, but as you're voting in a leader, as you're trying to get into the leadership fight, politics is involved. Even in here, politics is involved. You got your position in politics. Somehow. You had to, or maybe you had to be voted, maybe you had to gain favorism from people. In general, it's politics. Even in a family, the best person who's loved, it's normally politics. Politics is everywhere, whether you like it or not. However, are we willing to embrace leadership before politics? It will always be there, but is it leadership before politics, or is it politics before leadership? Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank ambassadors for your wonderful presentation. I'm Mr. Musa Greso from the Embassy of Tanzania. Talking of the obstacles in implementing the Agenda 2063, I would like to categorize these obstacles politically, economically, socially, even security-wise. So, economically, what I see, we do not have enough energy to support our industries. There's a need to invest much in our energy sector so that we can focus on production of the up-to-date products that will get marketing at the world stage. But also I see the problem, our infrastructure. Our infrastructure. It takes a lot of time to clear cargoes from the port and to transport this cargo into various destinations. So there's a need to work on our infrastructure to reduce the costs of delivering various cargo that we import from outside. But also there's a need also to look at other aspects like Africa is struggling with inter and intra-states conflicts. You may learn from our friends, our brothers, like the Sudan issue and the DRC. It has been there for a long time, and a lot of resources has been spent on those areas. So there's a need to make sure that we cooperate to make sure that we help each other in resolving these conflicts. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to ask that the responses be kept under a minute, and maybe this would also help to the question that was asked as to why have a 50-year plan. Actually, during the 2014 ministerial retreat on Agenda 2063, there was a response, and I quote, "Planning 50 years ahead allows us to dream, think creatively, and sometimes crazy, to see us leapfrog beyond the immediate challenges." So such a similar question was asked, and such a response was given. Maybe we could take us to question 6.
Yes, question 6. What are your reservations about having more youth in leadership, and also the involvement in adopting bilateral and global policies? So, as you, I believe we should answer this question. What do you think about having you guys more in leadership, and should you guys be involved in bilateral and global policy making?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kumalansana. I'm from Sierra Leone. Well, in the first place, I may want to submit by saying the leadership system in Africa is one of the major problems of Africa. And until that problem is addressed, then what we're talking about should just be a mere story. Of course, this one can just be a literature if what is the biggest picture of the problem is not resolved. For instance, now if we look at some countries in Africa wherein, I will tell you for fact, most countries, the policies they're operating with is the policies of the government in power. And when once that government leaves power, the incoming government will implement another policy, which is not making any better sense. For instance, in some other countries, you see, for example, they say the education system is 6333. And now when this other government comes, they say, oh no, this is wrong, let's implement this. So where are we having? Like, are we helping ourselves? So until and unless we identify the problem of leadership in Africa, we can't go anywhere. Now come to the youth. You know, I was very happy the other time when I saw my president, the president of Sierra Leone, President Julius Balabio, involving more youth in his government. And if you can observe from the previous administration now, you can see so many changes going on because youth are being involved in this, and they are serving as examples. We are being inspired by their leadership, and they are working not only like to satisfy the populace, but they are working to serve as an example for this. So what I can say is the African leadership should involve more youths, because a leader is somebody who don't only knows the way, who don't show the way, but also goes the way. And if youth are involved, I believe they can go the way.
Thank you. We are only going to take one more person, then to go to the panel.
My name is Nelson, and I'm from Zambia. So in Zambia, we actually have a local saying which says "Imiti kula empana," which means the bushes that start to grow end up being the forest. So having the youth in the leadership is actually a very vital role that we need to take up as Africa for the involvement of the next generation of leaders. So if we have less youth involved in the leadership, it means when the generation dies of leaders, we need to start building afresh for us to build the leaders, and that takes quite a while. And by the time we end up having the good leaders, we would have lost out on the development and would have derailed on our path. So involvement of the youth is really critical in the development of Africa.
Anyone with a different thought, no?
Hello everyone, my name is Manuela from Ghana. So the question is, I think that more youth should be involved in leadership because now we are in this century, this era where like the youth are taking over with social media and everything. So if more youth are like implemented or added to the leadership positions in our various countries, I think it's going to be of great help to us. And also about the global policies, like let's take Russia for instance. When we see their education system, for me, I'm doing medicine first year. Some of my classmates are like 18, 17, they are like lower years. In our countries, before you can do medicine, like you're about 24, 23. Before you finish, you are 28, 30. Before you work, you are like 36. Before you specialize, you are 40. Like, before you go to pension is 60. That means that what you have in mind, before you can do it, it's just like 2 years, you go to pension. You cannot do much. Like, it's very painful to, like, me, I want to do pediatrician. I have to go to school for like 12 years. So if I want to stop and get married, it's like, once I get married, I have to stop what I'm doing. I can't implement it, and it's very, very bad. It's not good at all.
Good day, secretaries and everyone here. I greet you. My name is Samuel Sunday. I'm from Nigeria. All right. So quickly, very quickly, I want to say I agree with the notion that youth should be involved in leadership. But I think it will be better if it's the way my brother just mentioned it, if there is a kind of mentorship with the older generation in power, mentoring the youth and bringing them in gradually, that works. There's no gap, there's no succession of, like you said, change in government, change in policies and all of that. So my reservation is when a youth comes into power straight up. I don't know, there's something about youth being youth being at the top of the food chain. Maybe it's the impulsiveness or the extra amount of energy, then to make more rash decisions. I'm from Nigeria, look at the Civil War. I feel if, when Ojukwu, for those of us who know the story of Nigerian Civil War, when he got older, there were reports of him saying if he was, he had a lot more years, maybe he was wiser, he wouldn't have jumped into that Civil War. I also personally believe in maybe one of the wars going on, it's sensitive, so I might not want to mention it. I believe if, there was more guidance, more mentorship, we won't just jump into rash, decisions. So that's just my reservation about it.
So, many more concern. But I just want to make a quick response to what he said. You have to take into consideration that we have in entertainment, we are having information at our disposal at a very rapid rate. Technology is improving, and to no disrespect, but I believe we young guys can handle that better than our ambassadors here. And that's because we also satisfied, so when we want, we need you to be involved. So, but yes, you made a very valid point in raising the aspect of experience. It's something that is really needed, and it's something that we as youth we need to learn from our senior leaders here and the ones at home to see that how we can gradually take over them, because it's important we know where we want to go and they can tell us where they are going.
going to start steering from where he stopped about using the internet, computers, etc. I can hardly see an ambassador who does not know how to use computers. And then the European Convention on Human Rights actually bars age discrimination. So when we are talking about youth and then old people, we're going to be very careful what we are saying, because one old man will just take you to court for age discrimination. So, but on the more serious note, but before I actually address this, let me also go back to our dear student from Kenya. Was it Kenya? About this 50 years and then not feasible. That 50 years is just an holistic kind of prognosis. And then, like you have the ambassador, my colleague here said exactly that you have what you call short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And most of these countries in Africa have got really short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans in support of this 2063 agenda. Specifically, like Sierra Leone, we had our plan, our 5-year plan, and then we had education, which was the flagship program of the government for the last 5 years, and that was directly to address this 2063 and the SDGs. And now the government has taken agriculture as a flagship program to actually make Sierra Leone self-sufficient for the next 5 years. So yes, sometimes there are, like a colleague was saying, that we need to actually research, we need to read what these countries are doing. Sometimes I can agree that it is the implementation that has the difficulties, but most of these things are written in paper, we have them, etc. But also is the money, because all of these things is financial resources, and there are priorities. Every country has got their priorities. And then, am I going to stop paying stipends to the Sierra Leonean students because I want to take care of, would the Sierra Leonean students here permit me to go back home and say, don't pay them any stipends, let's take care of the babies in Freetown? Would you agree with me if I go tell the government that? No. That is the issue. That is the issue. It's priority. Every country, they've got their priorities. And then, so you need to go according to these priorities. And then somebody was talking about the educational system. That lady from Ghana, she is absolutely on the dot. Yeah. And I think it was my brother from Tanzania and then the ambassador here, or supported also by my brother there from Zambia, saying, why is it that we have kind of like photocopied exactly what our colonial masters were doing, and then we implemented them by letter without actually looking at them and saying, is this feasible? And what also we don't realize, most of these of our colonial masters, they've moved on long ago. No child, I was in England for 25 years. No child repeats a class in primary school in England. They promote all of them until they go to sixth form. It is when they are going to university, then they will start separating them. Who goes to technical institute, who goes to do something else, who goes to do something else. Why don't we devise programs like that? We follow these guys, we've been doing what they left us, and they have changed, but we refuse to change. So therefore, my sister stays in school or university up to 40 years, and by the time she gets married, she doesn't even want to go and work again, because now she's thinking about retirement. That's my sister from Ghana. So we need to change, we need to adapt what is good for us. Not what is good for the other people who were there about 60 years ago. Because we are still doing what they used to do. That is what we are doing. And that is the reason why I've always liked the Russian system of education. Because you know why? You know, you write this thing, you write it down and come and sit down before me and defend it. Tell me exactly what you know. Because somebody is going to write thesis. He gives it to me, I correct it. Probably he doesn't even know anything. He's just written it, somebody wrote it for him. So you come, you defend it to me, and then you tell me really if you know it. I give you a mark, you pass. Because I know when you leave, you're going to be doing something with it. So this is our problem. We have refused to move on. We are stuck in the past. Like my brother said, let us adapt the things that are African. But I will tell you the other thing again that are actually some of our problems. Most of Africa is the richest continent in mineral resources. But we are the poorest continent when it comes about physical cash. You know why? Because all the money that we have, they go through third countries. So if you are sending money now for stipend for students in Sierra Leone students who are here, that money doesn't come direct. It goes through 2-3 banks, and every time they go, you pay them. It's a system designed to make you stay where you are. That is the system. All our commodities, our gold, our diamond, our bauxite, our iron ore, they are all the prices of oil are all determined somewhere else. Someone determined their price for us. So these are some of the things. So yes, there's a crisis of leadership sometimes, but that is not the only issue. Because even these leaders, the things that they do in these African countries are dictated from somewhere else. That's what we should know. So sometimes we'll be thinking, oh, this my president doesn't want to do anything, this prime minister doesn't want to do anything. If only you talk to that president and prime minister, you will know the load that these guys are carrying. You will know. Do you know, even we as diplomats, like somebody was saying, there are some things I cannot say here. I cannot say. We are restricted. Let's go and talk about the president. If he says something, they put sanctions on him. Yeah. Uganda adopted something in their parliament, okay? And they said they're going to remove them from World Bank. Excuse me if I got it wrong. Museveni said you can take your World Bank and go away. We don't want it. Those are the type of leaders we need. We need people to speak to our voice. I'm telling you guys, there's a lot that you can learn. Like somebody was saying, you need to read. You need to read. It's not that your African leaders do not want to do anything. But I'll tell you one thing, their hands are tied behind their back. Most of them. Their hands are tied behind their back. That's what you should realize. So what we need to do, all of us needs to work together with your education and push and try to negotiate better terms for our countries. Not fight. We don't want any more fighting. Just negotiate better terms for our countries. And then all of us will be better off. Thank you.
Please want me to emphasize reservations. And it is important for you, young people. Capacity. Just have the capacity to go. And then you will fit. I've told you of the ministers from United Arab Emirates. The last one, the youngest I met in 2021, the Minister for Wellness was a young lady, and she was 23 years old, but she was also the first assistant to the Prime Minister. 23. I've been the minister before. They circulate cabinet papers to you, something you've not heard about. Unless you go and do research and read overnight, you'll not be able to contribute in the meeting. So it doesn't matter whether you are old or young. If you cannot contribute in the meeting, you'll be thrown out of cabinet. Period. If you can contribute, well and good. You must have the capacity to do research. Research. Daughter from Kenya, you studied in strategic planning. Strategic planning, I don't know for how long. I've taught strategic planning in America. And you go to Uganda, you talk to this strategic planning expert in Uganda, obviously they will be mentioned. So I'm telling you what I've practiced for the last 23 years. Not what I've studied. I have studied and taught, but that is it. So just have the capacity to adjust and research You get something, go and read about it, produce.
Okay, thank you so much for those contributions on that question. And I think one common finding that, or the common place we get to is that we acknowledge and realize the problem with the education system in Africa. So in light of this problem, how can education systems in Africa be reformed? What practical steps can be taken to reform the education system to meet the changing needs of the continent and equip the future?
Thank you very much. All protocols to be observed. I'm Abdulhamid Ahmad from Nigeria. Considering the time, I just want to make a comment of 2 seconds or 3. Actually, I think the problem is from curriculum. If we can change the curriculum, the educational curriculum that we are using in Nigeria is actually the problem. If we can make a changes to the curriculum and make it in such a way that it will solve our problems, I think we are good to go. The curriculum is from, some are using 6334, some are using 3, 5, 6, a lot of different curriculums. If we can make changes to the curriculum that will provide solutions to our problem, because most of the curriculum that we are using in African countries is curriculum that we adopted from our colonial masters. And we are still using that curriculum.
And they're not using it.
I have a postgraduate diploma in education. We revise mainly, I work in curriculum. I'm looking to the curriculum of Africans. It's not even providing solution to our problem. That's the problem. Someone will spend 6 years in primary school, go to university, or go to secondary school, spend 6 years, go to university. If you are going to study medical course, spend another 6 years, and when you finish, you can see that the job description is that when you pass 23 years, you are not going to apply to this job. How is that possible? That's our major problem, actually. The problem is from the curriculum. I think we need to work up and do something about it. Thank you very much.
As protocols observed, my name is Mazi Alan, I'm from Uganda. For me, I think one of the things about the education system is looking more into the education system, what is being taught, and more importantly, what is happening in the class, looking at those simple things that are taking place in class. For example, you find there are some schools that they are still beating kids. Like you can take here into the, I've not seen anyone beating a Muzungu. Like it's a total different thing. Making sure developing confidence in each and every Ugandan, every African, so everyone can believe in himself. And for the issue about the youth, I feel like it is more of a capability than age. Someone can be 70 when he can live better than anyone, and someone can be 30 when he can live more than the 70. It's all about maturity and knowing to do things. And this comes when people are grown up in mind. But people can't grow up in mind when the education system is bad. Only great people can, only a great population can give a great leader. If people are not educated, people are not well in maturity, they can't give you a great leader. They are just following the and the notes. But it all comes to the education system. If you kill a boy, you don't have a man. Making sure that the kids have grown up in maturity, they have been invested into them, the confidence and the information. Like if you deal with the children here, the guys have been studying law, it's most of them, they've always made presentations about the education systems. And these kids, like you find someone who is 14, 15 years old, they are better in AI, they are using programming. And if you are in the age right now, if you can design the times we are in the AI, people are using AI, people are doing things every day. And you find like someone who is 30, they can't do the things that the kids are doing. So looking into the education system is the key, because if a population is well developed, is well grown up in mind, the whole country will grow up. Thank you.
It is very, very interesting. I like what is going on. A day well spent. Actually, on my side, I think what is important, first of all, is to think what you want to be in life. Are you planning to be working with the government, or are you looking for the private sector? Are you planning to do self-employment? Are you planning to be a business owner or an investor? There's a need to think of that. What do you want to be in life? But the second point is to learn from the well-experienced people. You cannot ignore experience. We learn from our leaders. So you choose a mentor, a coach, someone who has been doing very well in that specific area. Then you affiliate there, you learn from them. Thereafter, you get good results. Thank you.
It's interesting, and I'm enjoying the submissions. However, I'm also standing on firm grounds, as I earlier stated, that we need to tell our own story as Africans. You can't use the same formula and expecting different results all the time. Then you're a bad leader. Remember where we started? So not until we accept that we need to do something collectively. But I must also mention here that the youths of today, for example, I've been to meetings where the youths have been invited to participate and look at their conduct. And I want to give an example of the first ambassador to Zambia in 1965, Dr. Vernon Johnson, who I think at the time was only 21 years old. But he led the mission, very good track record, and then onwards. There are many times youths have been given an opportunity to serve in government. And I'm sorry, not to mention some of names and countries, even some of the wars that as earlier alluded to. Now, if people were a bit older, for lack of a better word, these wars would have been avoided. The lack of judgment, where you need to make an informed decision and come to the logical conclusion. So the youths now must stand up and realize that you are the future generation. And no wonder there's this projection of 2063, where the projections, because whether you like it or yes, Africa will be growing. But even after training, where do we go? I think Ambassador Sierra Leone Leopard will remain in these developed countries without going to our countries and thinking something will change. How? It can't be. And so, not until you realize that even in your own countries, if you want things to change, you are the majority, aren't you? Why don't you put your own leaders? Okay, so much as you want to blame the older generation, we need an input from you and realize that the time is now and not tomorrow. And serve with dignity and honor. Until we do that, believe you me, we remain crybabies. I submit.
Just add words to what he said. I'd like to give an example of my president right now, President Mnangagwa. He was sentenced to death at 19 years old because they were fighting for liberation, doing all sort of things so that we would be free. But now, the youth who can say something against him, or they don't even have the guts, not even to do anything or take any initiative. So we need to step up at the end of the day. We need to also show our capability and not just blame and try to put it onto others, because for them to get in those positions, they did something. They were recognized. Imagine at 19 being told you were sentenced to death. The only reason why he survived was because he was too young to be sentenced to death. But at 23, at 24, 24, at 26, what are you doing? They're just complaining. What are you doing? What steps are you taking? So that's also very important that we should say.
Okay. I will be moving to the next question, and I want to provide background before this question is projected on the screen. So this question speaks into Pan-Africanism, and I think one thing that we find ourselves in is that we are students in the diaspora. We're coming from various countries, and I think around here it's a cool thing for many people to say, oh, you are from the United States, maybe you are from Canada, and you see it even in the students. You know, you are asked where are you coming from, all of a sudden you forget that you are Zambian, forget that you are Ugandan, and you're just, oh, I'm from Canada. Even in the actor says you are not from that country. So to the audience, the question is, what do you think is making us lose that patriotism? Why are we not so proud to publicly state the countries we're coming from? And also to our panel, what intentional steps can we engage in to promote? You can please project question 4. What intentional steps can we engage in to promote Pan-Africanism and patriotism among Africans in Russia? And I also ask all of us in the audience to just Google the word Pan-Africanism. One interesting thing that we also get to find is that it is still defined as an attempt. So it seems there seem to be still question marks around what Pan-Africanism is. So it's defined an attempt, which means it's really nothing. So the question is, what is making you lose pride in your various countries where you're coming from? And also to our panel, what intentional steps can we engage in to promote Pan-Africanism and patriotism among Africans in Russia? And this will be our last question.
Hello everyone, Ahmed Isaac, I'm from Nigeria. Well, a lot of problems has been raised and a lot of answers to it has been submitted, of which I can say the opinion is almost the same as what one of the dignitaries has mentioned, is realizing our problem and understanding our uniqueness. That's the only solution to our problem. We should be able to understand our differences. We cannot be all the same. Until we understand our differences, we cannot have a functioning system. And be it education, or be it whatsoever sector it is, most of our problems are clustered together. They are clustered together. It is basically this last question you raised, lack of patriotism. That's our key problem. We don't have patriotism over our nations. We always tend to have self-interest first, family interest second, community interest third, religious and tribal interest fourth, then maybe the country at the last. You go to America. I remember one of our former Prime Minister of Nigeria, Tafawa Balewa, he said when he accepted power, Nigeria, his wife thinking how to bring Nigeria into order, looking at the multi-ethnical differences of the nation. But he said, until when he reached America, and he see that America is like a junkyard comprising almost every nation's individual, every citizenship in America. So he put in his mind that there will be a hope for Nigeria. When I read that, I said, I think Tafawa Balewa missed something. Everybody in America is after the development of America. He has dropped his previous citizenship and whatsoever. He must build on the interests of America. But what is in our place? We lack the patriotism of our nation. And this is the basic of our problem. Until we adjust, we'll be nowhere. We must submit our requirements as a leader. You must fulfill all the qualities of leadership. Similarly, as a follower, you must fulfill all the qualities of followership. You can't say you expect a better country when you cannot stay and follow a queue.
You can't say you want a better country when you can dispose a trash anywhere you like. So we have responsibilities on our differences, whether you are a kid, or you are a youth, or you are an old age, or whatsoever. And that's the basic steps for our development.
And I'm from Kenya. And in opposition to your question, I stand to say that I am proudly Kenyan. And every time that I am in a meeting, whether in schools or wherever I am called to speak, I stand first by my origin, which is Kenyan. Every presentation I have made, I always flown our flag, Kenyan flag, and I have always stood by myself that I am Kenyan. So I believe that it comes from the fact that I have grown and accepted the blames of being a Kenyan, and I have accepted that I can outgrow them. And I thank you, sir, for telling us that we youth have failed in our capacity. And I apologize to your generation and to the generation before that for our failures. And I pray and I ask that maybe, because also that generation has made a few mistakes in bringing up my generation and the generation after me, we also forgive you for that. And we ask, kindly, will you accept to mentor us that we may come and take up your spaces, maybe in 20 years' time to come, maybe in 10 years' time to come, maybe in 5 years' time to come. We ask and we request for this opposition. Then lastly, every time I make a presentation, I do it, I study what is here, and then I take it back to my country. And if there is no research, then I put it down as a point that I should go back and do the research. If I cannot do it back in my country, then I will do it from here, and I will give the results back. And if it's possible, if I get a way to put it into practice,
Good evening, everyone. Protocol Studios. I would like to continue with what my brother from Nigeria was talking about. I would like to say that as human beings, we always have differences. And I think the problem with Pan-Africanism, why we've not achieved this, because at the basic level, we've not achieved patriotism. And the reason is because, as a team, we have to have something called the dream or the goal, right? Now, most countries don't have the dream. What do you call like the Nigeria? For example, I'm from Nigeria. What do you call the Nigerian dream? If you don't have that, you don't strive towards that dream, and then you start finding places where you try to separate yourselves. For example, if you're in a team, the dream is maybe to win the league. So everybody's pursuing towards that dream. Everybody knows this is the end goal, this is what we are trying to achieve. But if you look at us, most countries, a lot of countries in Africa, we find ourselves divided among ethnic lines, tribal lines. We are trying to achieve our tribal goals because we don't have this dream. The reason why people want to say America is because if you look at them, there was something called, when I was growing up, I remember we always used to hear the American dream. There's something called the American dream. So no matter wherever you come from, once you step into that country, you find yourself caught in the dream. You find yourself caught into that wave. So most African countries don't have that, right? You don't have people that will be like, okay, this is what it means to be a Nigerian. If you ask yourself, what does it mean to be a Nigerian? You'll be like, don't worry, I'm from the East. No, you have to have something. You have to have something to be like, okay, if they ask you, what does it mean to be a Nigerian? Oh, this is it. Once you have that as a country, you've achieved patriotism. And once you achieve patriotism, it will become very, very easy to achieve Pan-Africanism. Because right now, you can be able to start picking up all these people as a block. one by one. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tembo Carlos. I'm from Zambia. So my question is now, we've recognized all these problems when it comes to the educational sector. We've said the curriculum is a problem. When we go to economics, we said no, Africa needs to diversify the economy. So we know all these problems. And my question to the panel is that, after all these years, what's been limiting us? Why haven't we done this? Why do we keep making the same problems, the same mistake after mistake? So what could be the main problem for us to be repeating the same mistake? Thank you.
I think it was dedicated to the no?
And I will get responses from the panel.
There was an organization called PANAFO for those of us in my generation. And it was basically formed, it's a Pan-African Union, basically formed to support our brothers who were fighting liberation wars in Southern Africa, particularly the frontline states in Southern Africa, to support them, to demonstrate. Because we know exactly, it was only in 1980, if I'm not mistaken, that the last country got independence in that part of Africa. And then we had apartheid, etc. So there are several reasons why, but let's also give credit to our forefathers, because they did a lot. People like Julius Malemu Nyerere, people like Nkrumah, people like Jomo Kenyatta, you know, these guys, they did a lot, and many others, they did a lot for the Pan-African dream. Because Pan-African dream is not only an attempt, you know, to bring Africans together, but it's to unite Africa. Because that's what the Africans have been fighting for long. And we've come a very long way, because now we actually have an African Union. Before it was called Organization of African Unity, but now we've moved from there to an African Union. So that's a step forward. There's now an African Standing Force. That also is a step forward. So many things have been done. And also, there was supposed to be an African Free Trade Area after. Okay? That was school part. That hasn't gone anywhere. Like I said earlier, let me repeat myself again. Like I said earlier, Africa and the whole world recognizes that Africa is the future of the world. That is where we have the youth population, the largest youth population, and that's where the majority of the resources of the world are concentrated. So, in fact, you will not be surprised if you now see a new wave of neo-colonialism on the African continent. So if in 1884, 1885, some group of guys sat in a place called Berlin, and then they divided a whole continent that is even bigger than themselves and the whole of Europe put together. There are now some guys sitting in some corners also deciding what they should do about Africa. Because the resources that are in Africa, see, they're just insurmountable. We have so much resources. So, one of the issues we have as Africans, and I've said it in some of our diplomatic meetings, we don't speak with one voice. We don't speak with one voice. Because when Sierra Leone says something different, Uganda will say something different, Zambia will say something different, Tanzania will say something different. And this is exactly what our guys out there, our development partners, we call them, want us to be. So that we argue between ourselves. We argue between ourselves. So until we actually speak with one voice, look at the EU. EU should be like an example for us. The EU, they speak with one voice. Yes, they have some kind of argument there sometimes. UK has left, of course, and some others have threatened. But generally, it's an organization that is working and they're speaking with one voice. Believe me, until we as Africans, until we speak with one voice, it's going to be difficult for us. And they're not going to allow us to speak with one voice. Because they want the resources in Congo, which is perhaps probably the richest country in the world, that has everything that you can think about in any other country. Sierra Leone, a very small country like ours, very rich in natural resources, but very poor. Yeah. Reason being, because we don't determine the resources that are there. When the government tried to take over some mines, some guy took us to court in London. Yeah. And being a small country, you can't fight these conglomerates. They'll bring you down. So are we going to have our other African countries and brothers coming to Sierra Leone's aid to say, no, this is disadvantage, we're going to help Sierra Leone, we're going to fight with Sierra Leone? Because if any little country in Europe, one other country jumps on that country, the whole of the EU will jump on that country. They'll work together. That's what Africa we need to start to learn to do. We need to work together. We need to learn to work together. And until we do that, this, our dream of Pan-Africanism and unionism is a very, very bad. People like Marcus Garvey, people like Martin Luther King, and all of these guys, they fought for this thing. Okay, they were fine in America, but they fought for this Pan-Africanism. But still, we've not achieved it. So, what happened? We probably got political independence, in inverted commas, but we never got economic independence. Like you may have seen clips going around, you're right, 500 billion of countries in the French-speaking countries in Africa goes to Paris every year. Okay? How are they going to be independent if somebody is deciding for them how to spend their money? Because when they want that money back, they put interest on that money again for them. This is what is happening. It is a fact. So we got political liberation, but we didn't get economic liberation. And until we get economic liberation, there's not going to be any economic development. That is the fact. We're going to live with it. And the future is yours. Like somebody was saying that, oh, you guys are now out of the way. Well, if you tell me I'm 57 and I'm out of the way, I'm still young, man. I'm not old. Yeah, I'm still young. I've still got a long way to go in my career. So don't try kicking me away. What you need to do, like my colleague was saying there, you need to kind of learn from us, take us as mentors, and learn from us. Don't kick somebody, because if you kick him, you've got nobody to learn from, like the Uganda ambassador was saying. Okay? If they bring cabinet papers in the cabinet and you are 23 in cabinet, you don't even know where this issue probably is older than your age, and you have not sought any advice from somebody who knows that issue. You haven't got no leg to stand on. So it's not about kicking us out, it's about working with us in partnership, because that is leadership. If you want to gain leadership, you work with the leader in partnership, and sooner or later you'll be taking over that leader. Let's work in partnership, both old and young, and then we can develop Africa.
Sorry. Just to summarize all this, Pan-Africanism and patriotism is a state of consciousness, I must say. Pan-Africanism must be a state of consciousness. I was in America when Serena Williams won the first time at the age of 17, the American Open. And let me tell you, whichever African American you get, they give you dollars, just because you're black. because they have something which unites them, the suffering. Now, for us, Pan-Africanism is a state of consciousness. Patriotism is also a state of consciousness, and it can start with you. Let it start with you. The biggest problem in Africa now is corruption. People are corrupt, people eat public funds, people steal. But if you have consciousness, if you are not corrupt, I'm not corrupt. My children are not corrupt. I told you that I was the chief executive for Chogam for 7 months, and I delivered success for Chogam. And Chogam was treated with a lot of silver money. But somebody one time went and accused me that he has eaten money. One of my officers said, no. He can never do that. My children can never do that. You can be the beginning. And like we said, you start small and then you increase your set of influence. It will save this country. It will save this nation. It will save Africa.
I actually came to basically listen, not just exclude organize, but actually coming to basically listen and observe. But it will actually be right that we try to observe you at a some comments. With reference to the question you asked regarding patriotism and Pan-Africanism, I just want to take us back. Just the colonial era, when the African leaders, people like Julius Nyerere, Zik of Africa, Kwame Nkrumah, when they spoke with one voice and fought colonialism. They fought colonialism. Unity was actually the key word. They came together and said, look, we have to have independence. And they fought colonialism. And in the end, Africa became free and became independent of the colonial masters. Now, fast forward to the current day. Youths and most people actually losing hope in Africa. And what's the problem? One, underdevelopment. Corruption is a thing that highlighted it. Poor infrastructure, and a number of things, that cannot actually give somebody hope to identify with a particular society, with a particular country. And it's very natural that people move from the developed to the developed. From an underdeveloped country to a developed country. And that is why currently now we have a lot of migration from Africa to Europe. So, to answer your question, very shortly, the thing is one unity, it's one of the things that drives Pan-Africanism and again development. If we're able to develop Africa, if the different national government will come to one voice to come up with the development agenda in developing Africa, I think it will be a step forward in driving belief in the African society. And also, one of my brothers also talked about the education system. Let me comment briefly on that. He presented it as though there are different education systems in Nigeria. I'm referring to my brother there. What we actually operate in Nigeria is a 6 tertiary system of education. 6 in primary school, 3 years in junior secondary school, and then another 3 years in junior secondary school, then university, you go ahead. I just want to clear that conception, that misconception, so that people don't believe we are operating different types of education system in Nigeria. Now, the first 3 years in secondary school, you have to identify. It is a forum whereby students are identified. If you are technically inclined, you can stop at that and go into technical school. But if you are also want to progress, to senior secondary, you can go ahead and continue. In other words, you can stop at junior secondary, go back and progress to technical school, or you progress again. you control education, to senior children and then public university, just like we are doing here. So I just want to clear that out. We don't operate different education system in Nigeria. It's one education system that we operate. Only that over time, it has not been judicially implemented, the way it's supposed to be. There seems to be some lapses and gaps, further. So let me stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We have come to the end of our program.
Actually, thank you. I was listening very carefully and I'm still learning from what people are contributing. Actually, the question is very clear because we are talking of Africanism and patriotism in Russia. If it is not against the law of the receiving state, I think you can formalize everything. If it is not against the law, you can formalize. If it is not against the law, you can register your organization. You can as well have your own constitution. You can practice the model of African Union here in Russia. You see, you can prepare your own summit. You can have youth presidents here. You can organize your own summit. Sometimes we invite each other. But also I believe in ICT. Nowadays we have Clubhouse. If it is difficult to meet, sometimes you can organize your own meetings online. You discuss your things. You can have a calendar of activities. And then through your calendar, then you organize your activities, you meet now and then, you share opportunities. Because what we believe is Zimbabwe might have a certain opportunities, Tanzania, Zambia. Life is all about sharing, exchanging opportunities. In that way, then you'll be successful. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe answer back my daughter from Kenya, that as the old generation, middle age, with full of life, we have nothing against you, but to actually quick start you to say, look, you've been static for too long, get on board. So we have nothing against you, we're willing to work with you. One time in my youth, I went to visit an old man who I saw struggling but made it in life. And I went to ask him how he made it in life. And he told me that, young man, if you want to be successful in life, befriend old people. So please come on board. The other thing that I also want to mention is that I'm glad you are proud of who you are. And this is one of the problems as Africans we have by not knowing our ethics, our culture, exactly what Ambassador was saying, where we come from and who we are. Some of us could claim to be coming from certain parts of that region in a particular country, but cannot speak our native language. That is a problem already. And so one thing, for me, I've told people, and I want to say this as I summarize, that one thing that I'm glad is that one, I'm an African, two, I'm Zambian, and even in heaven, those of you that are going to heaven, please meet me on the Eastern Gate. I'll be there proudly Zambian and African, coming from Zambia. And that's who I am.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for participating. I would like to highlight before we close, we did not just gather here to talk and to discuss matters, but to actually start putting things into action. We could not do the last part of our program, which was group projects. So the idea was to be able to start group projects together as Africans, regardless of any country you're from. We combine, obviously, French-speaking countries together because it's better for people who understand each other. Let me just run it down, just 5 slides, what it's all about. So we were not able to do this, but I want you to go with that mentality in mind that this was an introduction to something bigger, becoming part of changing Africa. Not just talking about it, but being actionable as well. So the second slide. So these are the second sectors. That is FMYDE. We want to look into health, agriculture, energy and mining, banking and finance, industry and manufacturing, telecommunication and digital technology, infrastructure, construction and transport. When you registered for this event, you were told to choose 2 of these sectors for the particular reason that the sectors that you chose are the areas that you are to brainstorm. Think of the problems that we have and how you can come up with a solution. That's like, so I think we need to come up with the problem statement, and I think this conference, that's what we were doing. We were highlighting each and everything that is a problem. The second slide, please. So the objective, turning ideas into tangible actions with clear responsibilities and timelines. Streamlining our processes to improve efficiency in view of the consequences of the actions long term. The second slide. The methodology. Working together as African youth, practicing Pan-Africanism here in Russia, because we are many Africans, and we cannot talk of Pan-Africanism when we cannot engage by ourselves. Taking part in the initiatives to change Africa. That's why we're discussing Africa Agenda 2063, Dar es Salaam Declaration. Aligning with our leaders to refine us. This is why these delegates were able to grace this occasion to refine us. I'm sure all of you can say today you were refined. So in conclusion, African youth equipped for the Africa we want, according to Africa Agenda 2063. It's your responsibility. Thank you so much for each and every person who attended. Thank you so much to the delegates. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our event.
Music. Somebody. How are you? How are
Hello. So we have a quick photo session. Okay, we have a quick photo session. So maybe we can start by our flags, then later on we will all do it together. We can start by our flags, then later on we can all do it together. So I can see Zambia there, Kenya, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Tanzania. We can have a quick photo session by our flags. Then later on we can do a group photo.
Please give you a video of dancing.
Yeah, it's on the live stream. This live streaming. It's not video. Or can be downloaded. Yeah, it can be downloaded from the YouTube channel. To drop their certificate to start it. Ele deve fazer uma live. Okay, ma'am. You guys are not serious. Nigerians are not serious. I will off my laptop for my watch. Where's the phone? Eh? Where's the phone? This is yours. Oh, this live stream. It's live streaming. Yeah. No, none of you have a phone. None of you have a phone. Yeah, we can use your phone. I snap a lot. You're videoing me. I will put your face. I don't want Nigerian flag to show it. You guys are not serious people. Let me end the live stream.
Bye! Bye everybody! Thank you for
Sorry. No, I've left your country for you.
Bye everybody! Bye! Thank you for
What do you want, sir? I'm coming.
Come in.